madness going on. And with the picks we've got in front of us, with the teams we've got in front of us, things could get pretty spicy. Bit of history for you here.
Oh, history time. I like that.
I did it. So, like, obviously, this is not the first time X7 and Bifrost have played in the best of 5.
No, because there was the qualification series.
Indeed,
oh yeah, that's really interesting, the calibration matches.
And in that series, the calibration matches to get into NLC Division 1, Bifrost beat the roster of X7 3-0. Of course, this was very different players, don't get me wrong, in a very different point.
Oh yeah, that was the Little Pants support X7
Indeed,
roster.
And shout out to Little Pants, who we love very dearly, but he's obviously not on this roster right now. Of course, he's Sing and the rest of the crew here for X7. But there's a little bit of history here, and with the 2-0, of course, in the regular season. Currently, right now, Bifrost are actually undefeated versus X7.
That is such a cool head-to-head. You know what? I actually hadn't stopped to think about that. I was thinking about the here and now. Get to take a step back and have a think about what's come before, as well as looking to what could come after. But in the present, do you want to address something that was said on the desk in terms of like the particulars? Let's face it, I'm an Ari main. I'm going to have an opinion on Ari.
I had a feeling you might.
I do largely agree with saying that Ari into Vigar can be a difficult matchup for the Ari if you're not particularly brave. I think if you are very aggressive and you have the Viego, who can also flash in, or in the Leona that can do the same, I think that if you play this out aggressively, particularly with the aggressive engage options which X7 have, Vigar won't be able to use their cage as well as they would like to. Use those flashes aggressively and shut them down, and that could be actually a bit of a turnaround matchup in that sense. Also, another thing, just capping off the other things, so you don't have to hear about it again. Okay, I actually also think this should be a Leandri's Zari game. I think that's a really good spot for it.
I see the angle here. I mean, you got Hecarim, Gnar, and Sign. I think you're completely right. The HP damage is probably pretty good here, so I agree with that.
It's actually a pretty okay build in this game. Rarely do I go it, but I see this game and I'm like, yeah, you're probably not going to be reaching everyone through the cage every time. A lot of value in that value and going in early in bot lane, though.
He's had to flash, and that's not a good start for Bifrost. Center down that summoner spell. The Ignite was the trade from Kasing, but early aggression, early engage, and with X7's, I'll call it a pick comp. That's not quite fair, but there's a lot of single target CC between the Camille and everyone else, like the Viego, of course, that can add in a lot of layered CC to make sure a single target goes down. Having your center blow flashes early means Haru potentially looking to find an angle down towards that lane at some point. Of course, currently pathing away from that lane, so we'll need to keep an eye on that.
So, obviously bot lane has been the point of so much fighting between these two teams in the two matches which they played in that regular season. It was X7 kind of losing out on that area of the map. Of course, in their second game, they picked the Twitch. They had a Vayne top lane. Things got a little out of hand, and maybe they were trying something a little bit too far.
It was the Twitch the other game.
Yeah, I thought it was the Twitch in the second game, and then
I thought it was the first game.
The first game was the Tom Kench game, where they
right, where there was that's right. The Tom Kench came in. Of course, it did. And that was definitely something, as we've got another engage down towards his bot lane. His duel is the target this time around. The heal's coming through from Nana to continue chasing down. Remember, there's still the heal from Odie, but the flash forward for the shield of Daybreak, and Dawn breaks in this game. It'll be a 1-for-1 as Odie turns it around. But that is still a kill apiece, and first blood goes the way of X7.
It's a hard-fought first blood, but then you realize, hang on, we've actually put a lot into this. There's a zombie on the other side. Now, cage goes down.
Oh, what's in your mid? Well, it's not a zombie, because that was in the bot lane, but a drive-by from the horse will be there. Yeah, I made one reference already. Look, it's going to be a musical reference kind of day. We started with Blues Brothers.
I'd say it's comparing apples to oranges, but maybe it's comparing apples to cranberries in this case, if you're going to go with that musical reference. But either way, as you can see, this is the difficult side of the Ari versus the Vigar matchup. You want to be walking up, trading with your electrocute, trading very heavily, because Vigar doesn't really have that high damage. Early into the game, you want to be trying to bully him out, but you're in range of cage at that point. Slips through the vision, cracks to C-Boy, gets in and gets something for the trouble of it.
Absolutely. Call it out here as well. Duel didn't burn the flash, did not use a teleport to get back to lane either. And of course, he is the farming member here. Senna is going a no-farm route, which is, I believe, currently the main strat for Senna, but of course that does change around as
yes.
Things go, patches go by.
The last nerf which Senna had was to the soul drop rate for minions that you kill. Doesn't really affect the way that you trade, though, and we might be seeing a heavier sort of that, because C-Boy has made their way down there.
He's seeing spot the Swede, but hasn't spotted that Hecarim, has just now. And that means there's maybe an angle who can sing, remember there's no flash, but here's Haru for the potential turnaround. He's always here. The best damn jungler in the league, you feel, as he gets to the Spectral Maw onto Jewel. He's channeling, of course, the big decimating smash, which forces a flash out from Haru in turn. And it will just be that summon. But look who else is here. It's Tempt. Can maybe come in. Is it tempting enough? But no, will not come through quite yet. They'll back away. Tempt still around the corner, looking to see if they can get a hold of C-Boy. That's the wall going down. They know they're on the Krugs. Can potentially look for a little bit more, but can't get in range. No level 6, no Spirit Rush. Chains land, which will force Tempt to be embraced briefly before getting out, and that will be the end of that. But it is a testy, tempestuous early.
It is, but with all of that said, I mean, Furry's just stayed in mid, pushed in a wave. That's now minions away from Tempt, who has gone for that early Dark Seal, was banking on an early snowball fight. That is a very good way to play out this matchup. I do genuinely think if X7 get large leads and get to play aggressively, stack up stuff like, of course, that Dark Seal, I think that they're in a very good position. But, of course, with little happening on the bot side and the openings not quite presenting themselves, Bifrost find themselves at a minute advantage, but they might have overstayed.
No flash in the side of Odie, but it's Duel who is the target. They've layered the CC so well, and Sion is thrown into the Necromancer's arms one more time. He comes back as a zombie. Haru steals the form to displace that devastating charge. So well done by Haru. He's just too clean. Now C-Boy is about to be a dead boy instead. Another kill to X7.
That was seriously cool. I've never seen that interaction before, using a soul pickup to ignore an instance of damage. Of course, that E was already in flight, and Haru gets away with really, really a lot there. You thought that, okay, maybe he's stuck between the Sion passive and the jungler on the other side, but doesn't work out this way. Gonna watch it back, and again, this was an overstay from Bifrost. They'd done so well at disengaging from the players beforehand, but Duel doesn't quite manage to get away with this one. And look at this, doesn't take the devastating charge damage. And that's, of course, so much of the burst from Hecarim at all stages of the game, never mind just the early one. And X7 then continuously turned around from that point, and it's all eyes on the bot lane, and it seems like all advantages going to the side of X7 after that last amount of kills going over.
Not just the bot lanes, but the junglers. And of course, Haru, as he has done throughout so much of this split, is coming out on top. This man is a monster. He's #1 in pretty much every stat you cared to mention. He is just so good. This guy seems to be smashing the damage numbers, smashing the gold numbers, smashing the KDA numbers. He, when against XL, managed to go 9-0 on Hecarim. There is nothing, it feels, this man cannot do. And how he started up on this Viego with a huge start to this game.
And it does feel like whenever X7 are doing anything, Haru's there. Yeah. Haru's there. It's rarely something outside of it. Now, that's not to say that X7 don't have great players outside of their jungler. That is absolutely not the case. Coming into this split, we were sat there thinking, wow, this is a star-studded roster. This is one which is destined to go beyond this league, go into EU Masters, and be our representative there. And we're of the opinion that they were going to do very well there too. Of course, we're yet to see that. Of course, they're yet to even qualify for it. There is, of course, the chance of absolute horror for X7 fans if they lose this series and then lose the semi-final and that lower bracket final, rather. And now they're sat here, though, with a good lead in game 1. And this is a good confidence booster because so often against Bifrost, they have found themselves at early deficits, particularly in this bot lane. And they've switched that around for now.
Oh, C-Boy is back down here, maybe looking to see whether there is something more available, but instead he'll just start with Dragon Nose. They've got the shove currently, and Nata would love to reset rather, and there you have it. Some in-game graphics. Haru pointing the guns at the whole damn league. He has been an executioner this split. Those are some very impressive numbers for a number of reasons. Of course, KDA always a little bit overblown as a stat, but still doing exceptionally well in that, considering he's involved in so many kills as well. He's just not dying doing it.
For me, it's just like, I mean, he's involved with so many kills amongst all, he's involved with more kills than any of the jungler in the league, and he's dying less comparatively about the kills that they've got, and also he's just ahead in general. Like, everything he does
it's not coming in trade for something else, right? It's not like he's falling in behind an experience for ganking, right? Like, that's the Malrang special for roguelike, which has been really strong for them in the early parts of the split. Haru's just monstered everybody. Like, Noodle was the other guy who was, like, doing incredibly well in terms of damage.
Very much seems like he's in a league of his own. Now, he does have stars on his team to help out, and one of those stars might need to come help him as C-Boy. So looking to contest, but disengages for now.
Does indeed, and of course C-Boy their first victory over X7 in the regular season. It was the Poppy counterpick, right?
Poppy into Lee Sin.
It was. And
very, very well.
And C-Boy had a bit of an edge there. It managed to, in the late game, punish the attempt to find the game-ending plays from X7 that led to the first loss of X7 in the regular season. Of course, they are now behind in this game, just about. I mean, it's only 200 gold, so they're ahead, but I will call out, of course, the Herald and Inventory, which does make some gold in pocket there to use.
So, just to kind of like take a bit of a step back, go into the wider picture of what's going to be happening with these team compositions. We talked about individual players, but as a 5-man unit, you talked about X7 very early into the game as being not quite a pick comp, and I really like the way that you phrased that, because they do have multiple modes of play. I do think when it comes to a straight up front to back 5v5, X7 are going to struggle to deal with the Sion front line, with the Senna stopping them from dying, and then the Cage to stop a lot of the damage being optimal and catching people out in return. Now, as you can see on the other side, you know, you do have the Ahri, you do have the ability to dive very deep or find people in rotation, importantly too, with things like the Camille ults and all the like. Temp gets away from that cage as C-Boy was looking in. But what I'm looking for from the side of X7 to see how well do they catch people before they set up for that 5v5, and how well do Bifrost make sure that all of their ducks are in a row when they do want to go towards objectives, because I feel like they're very vulnerable just as they're getting ready for it.
Absolutely, and if this just gets to the late game, I'm not sure there's the best tank killers, right, on the side of X7. You've got Camille, that's true, you do.
Camille, if you get killed,
No, that's fair. No, I give you that, but like in a team fight where sometimes range is king, right? Camille doesn't have that.
Yeah, it's all well and good saying that Camille kills tanks,
but you've got to actually hit them.
Stunned for a literal eternity.
Yeah, and you know,
quite Morgana binding, but it's the next best thing.
Exactly, and there's a lot of CC to punish a Camille who overdives to try and kill, you know, a Sion, right? That's not necessarily a priority target, and you're only getting to hit one target at a time there. And that could prove problematic. And of course, I called it out earlier. Bifrost are currently slightly ahead in the gold. And if they can hold up this stability, even if some of the skirmishes haven't gone their way, then they have got modes of play. They've got the early dragon, and things could get difficult for X7.
Yeah, and I think where it gets difficult for X7 is if not just if they fall behind in gold and items, but for me, it's about territory and vision. It's,
map control. Yes,
map control. Yeah, as a wider kind of terminology. Because, you know, we often talk about tower trades and how they can sometimes be more or less impactful. Obviously, when mid lane out a turret falls, that's almost always an important objective. In this game in particular, if Bifrost get to group up as 5 because they've managed to take down early turrets and then kind of concentrate their forces somewhere on the map, because they don't need to farm out and try and threaten multiple structures, I think that favors them quite a lot. So watch what happens with structure trades in this game. Can help by making side lane plays like this.
Shikari's being hunted. That's the Spectral Maw afterwards as well. Chunk down. Precision Protocol starts flying alongside Conquerors. Gonna miss that one, but the turnaround with the onslaught of Shadow's gonna put Jaeger in a difficult position. Surely he dies now to the tower and does so. A 1-for-1 after a clean counter gank from C-Boy.
Just a couple of seconds off of the mark, but does manage to recover something. Temp can dodge out in the second W. It was briefly in quite a lot of danger there if you get hit by that one. Likely to be heading to the Death Chamber. Of course, this is going to be the Everfrost Ahri coming out here. So this is what we've seen from a lot of Ahris. It helps you kind of have the extra setup for these plays. I do feel, again though, just reiterating my venting my various opinions on Ahri Mythics, I feel like in this kind of game, the Everfrost it might help you in some side lane plays, which maybe X7 want to commit towards, but now you need to be very coordinated about how you're picking members off, because you're lacking in some of the damage metrics, which potentially could have gone from a different item on that mid laner.
Absolutely, and you know, that is the choice. It's more pick, but it does come at the cost of that consistent DPS, as you said. And on the other side, it's perma-stacking from Sion as he gets more HP from the Soul Furnace. It's perma-stacking from Senna, who gets all the souls as this game goes on. Of course,
also
she's supportive, and Veigar.
So healing as well, because when you've got resistance stackers, every point of healing is harder to take away because they've got more resists. So when you're lacking in optimal damage,
already.
Yeah, when you're lacking in optimal damage, it can become quite a factor. We already talked about X7 not being great in the 5v5.
Ooh, big charm.
Have the ability to again threaten a little bit in rotation, but doesn't lead to anything here.
Doesn't quite yet. It's a bit of a chunk out on Fury. It does not have TP, importantly, which might mean that X7 get this dragon without too much contest. Nata was attempted to be engaged on, but does manage to arcane shift over the wall just off screen.
And then kind of putting that back into context, if X7 start giving up dragons, or rather if Bifrost had managed to stack them themselves, they can force them to come into them and fight them in that 5v5, which we said is unfavorable for their composition. So X7, if they do manage to secure this dragon, that's actually quite big for them in the way that these two teams interact with each other.
And quietly, Bifrost have actually managed to accrue themselves about 1,000 gold lead. A lot of that's just off the first turret and bot side going down. They have got better shove with the Sion versus just an Ezreal and Leona, and they've utilized that well. Even if they died to a couple of ganks, they did still manage to come out of this lane feeling okay, still useful. And as we said, look at those Senna souls.
Oh, that's actually
really
a very
scaling up
accelerated
incredibly fast.
Comparative to this point again, of course, had that kill too. Now, Bifrost, they're doing a very important part of this competition. They're pushing it using their territory.
Oh, lordy
getting
lord.
That gold, but are they going to get punished?
Oh, they are. Nata's taken very low, but he can still true shot barrage over the wall. The solar flare lands down, and the sun starts getting a little bit hot. Flies too close. Onslaught of the shadows into the wall, but it might be just an onslaught into Hades. The blue side jungle turning into a death trap. Yes, they get one back, but it's only the Leona. I apologize. As Fury now being tanked up, attempt pretty low, out of mana, needs to survive the Baleful Strike as the Heartbreaker brings down Veigar. Flash out from Nada.
Oh, come on.
To get something. Decimating Smash does the work, but Haru surely picks up the Sion in trade. There is no flash, there is no hope. A decimating Smash will knock him up briefly. He's got a Soul Furnace shield, but all he does is buy time.
Oh, and Bifrost, again, this was an important step that they wanted to achieve. They wanted to push in, get territory, get vision. Again, we talked about how important that is for X7 to have in their favor. Bifrost looking to cut that off from them, but they skip some steps. They don't have everyone there at the right time, and Kasing, he just absolutely zeroes in on Odie, who has been such a pivotal member for Bifrost, does not get to play out this way. Doesn't have a cleanse, has a heal, but that is not nearly enough to help with this. And X7, they have target access, they have the solar flare, they have the ability to follow up with so many members of their team. In the 3v4 briefly in this play though, Bifrost do manage to turn around decently well. It ends up being what, an extended 3-for-2 overall, blowing a lot of summoners at the same time. X7 come out minorly ahead, but oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I forgot there was another player there.
Seaboy was there briefly, and Odie was there briefly, but they both disappeared.
Turns out when there's lots of people on the screen, it's actually really hard to tell them. But either way, very important play for X7 to pick up and stop Bifrost from achieving a key part in the way that they want to structure the game.
And it always feels good when you highlight a player and it turns out they're playing quite well. As, oh dear, Odie, he is very dead.
Just shouldn't be that. Too much pick potential, not enough vision. Now Tempter's rolling forward. Seaboy getting
X-Tech ultimatum, and Seaboy is caught in the middle of no man's land. Does have to Onslaught of Shadow out, but that means it's not available for an upcoming fight. Wait, someone's been stunned up. It's Kasing who's about to go ka-ching. It's gold in the pockets of Fury.
It is, and that's a kill into Fury. That's Veigar, who is such a problematic champion to deal with. Once he does get a lot of gold, this Veigar is so easily going to be able to pop the first person into the fray if X7 are not very coordinated. Now, this one again, they're going for a fight, X7.
On goes Sion, the train came through, the cage is now down, but the charm means he's got nowhere to go. Seaboy taken very low as well. Tempt chasing forward, trying to get the kill. The Rampage will not get the kill, but here comes Shikari. A double for him, X7 gone too deep. Haru steals some forms, though, can start trying to turn this run around, can't quite get it. And a triple to the King in the North.
And how could we forget about Shikari? He's on Gnar duty, he's into a Camille. Surely that's a poor matchup. We'll see him in 20 minutes. He does it in this fight, comes up with some pivotal kills against X7. And again, X7, they're looking to try and play these broken fights, pick off this composition of Bifrost, but Bifrost beat them to the punch and they hit them hard at the Herald.
And it looked so good to begin with. Duel kept all by himself, Seaboy half HP, and then it all gets turned around.
And this time, you don't actually have the Leona here to help someone get locked in place even longer. You need that ability to follow up a lot of these kills. Temp goes a little too deep. That's the two diving members there just at the back end of that blue buff, getting picked off for very little effect at the end of it. Of course, Haru picks up something. It's not nearly enough to salvage that fight. Of course, they do get the Herald. That is the objective, neutral objective win with it. But after you lose that fight so handily, you've lost a lot of your wave pushes as well. You're not being able to put that down so effectively onto the map immediately. Have to watch how X7 now want to pilot the map and how they allocate their resources to get something out of this Herald that they bled so dearly for.
Let's have a look at the gold, please, production, because it is still Bifrost with about 1,000 gold lead. And you can see big lead for Shikari after all those shutdowns came through. Big lead for Haru in the jungle. And it's just the big discrepancy then is Duel over Kasing, of course, who has been farming, doing exceptionally well to get that Sion online.
But then also remember, outside of the gold as well, there's a lot of other things we need to track in terms of the Vigar stacks, in terms of the Scion stacking up on that W. Of course, he's actually pretty well farmed.
181 stacks, a phenomenal evil.
And then you got the Vigar, you got the Senna, you got the Scion. All of them. All of them, let me finish the damn point, Sam. All of them are stacking off of this gold value, right? That's not relevant to it. They're going to continue to grow in power, grow in strength, grow in effectiveness in this game. See all of them walking down towards the dragon, and X7 looking to punch him straight up.
Solar Flare straight onto Shikari. There is no Mega Gnar anywhere nearby, but Kasing is not tanky enough. He will go down, but it's a trade for support. Duel now into zombie form. The cage comes out. Haru Heartbreakers away. There is no Valentine that will be happening there, of course. Now down to 2k HP is the dragon. Can Seaboy come in to steal? It's a question! Ooh. Haru's good on the trigger. Now Seaboy charmed up in the cage, taken out, and the horse is put out to pasture. Tempt with 2 stacks of the Spirit Rush, hunting forward, looking for more. Shikari, nearly a Mega Gnar, gets through the wall! Dawning Shadow secures another 2! Dodie with the turnaround, the man's too clean on Senna.
That is 2 huge fights in a row from Bifrost top laner. As much as we said,
so good.
It's about the bot lane leads. It was like that for the last 2 games that they played together. Why would it be any different in this one? Shikari does not want to go quietly into the night in this one. Sees out his team to 2 important team fights.
Odie was very lucky to survive there. That was nearly everything from Kasing. It still ends up being a 2 for 3, slightly in favor of Bifrost, but the Dragon still went the way of X7. The question is what they can get done with this map pressure. Reminder, X7 yet to get a tower. Fury looking to claim the 2nd turret here for Bifrost. Let's have a look at this replay and see what the madness began with.
Another incredible fight. So Kasing zeroes in onto a group target once again, but this time there's actually not enough follow-up there. Tempt is not within the same screen, can't get there in time, there's no Everfrost, there's no Charm in place to follow up. But on the other side, you know, you still lose out on one of your important frontliners, and your other frontline is half HP and Seaboy. You don't have Mega Gnar, so he doesn't really count for this fight either at this point. I appreciate the attempt to steal, but once you've done that, you gotta realize it's very hard to fight this out as Bifrost. So again, the retreat is called. X7 are emboldened by this, but this is where things get really, really awkward. Of course, a bit of a spectator bug on that one, because Ari goes in for the Everfrost, actually gets caught by one themselves, and if you don't have something like a Zhonya's to make that kind of play in your own right, there is so much turnaround CC from this loaded composition from Bifrost in the front to back.
Absolutely. And the gold actually increasing in Bifrost's favor. While it still feels a lot of the skirmishes early on were so X7 favor, the lack of structures, finally they get a turret, which will help bring it back a little bit closer, but the scaling, the way these front to back to turnarounds here can get pretty dangerous as Jaeger being run down, just dies in a 1v1.
Oh, that's so, I mean, it's easy as you like. We tune into it, he autos him, he has damage to spare, doesn't even go through half of his rotation. As that Mega Gnar, there was an ultimate there from Jaeger, but it's just a straight miscalculation. Shikari is starting to roll over this game, putting it again back in context. We talked about how X7 wanted to use their territory. They wanted to use these structures going down in their favor to get vision, to get picks, and that has gone completely against them. Bifrost in such a good position with this composition.
They are, of course. You've still got to keep your eyes on Haru. The former world champion is still a terror in this game. You've still got 2.5 items on Natty. You've still got Tempt, who can make picks like this. Odie survives, though. Now, what can Seaboy do? He's a little bit separate from his team, though. The charge comes in from side, trying to do their best. Dawning Shadow doing some work as well. Kasing is knocked up. Not quite knocked down yet, but there he goes. Now it's the 1 for none. Lots of low health bars in Bifrost, but every single one of them right now still alive.
Odie is
wait for shot barrage! Gets Seaboy. Jungler is dead. Tempt goes golden. Now the turnaround comes through. Jump away from Shikari, who had to flash. Can they get anything more? But the cage buying so much space. The HP bars, though, are so desperately low, and there's no teleport. They could turn for Baron.
And you gotta give them credit, X7. They have some hands. They know how to play out these fights, but Bifrost not going to fall apart. There aren't any teleports here, though, for the side of Bifrost. There's a Baron being started.
There's no jungler.
And there is so little way for Bifrost to disengage from this. I think this is just gone.
Fury can do their best. What can you do with a cage? What can you do with a Scion with no ultimate? He needs to find a way in. Got to try and get onto this Baron. It's going to be low. Is it a Spellbook Smite? No. That will be Haru who gets a hold of that one. Of course, it was Grasp on the side. I didn't quite double check that before he came in, so that's just fine. I got a little bit too nervous for no reason. But a Mastercard Baron power play will now begin for X7, who turn around the HP bar lead to get a hold of the objective. My days, this game is close, and Tempt just about survives. Needs to get out from under the tower. Kassin goes in, but he's in so deep. Tempt's going to try and turn it around, get something back, stays alive until the boulder comes through. Big Ben rings the death knell of Kassin. A little ironic considering he's British.
And now X7, they've picked up that Baron, but they've lost a key member in how they want to group up and start pushing with it. Kassin, for someone who has been so consistent, such a rock for X7 the entirety of the split, has had a bit of a shocker in game one. He's struggled to land the engages, and when he has, he's often been too isolated from his team. He gets taken down far too early into the fights to last things out and go around for a second stun, a second root, second anything really. And now with that person going down, the Baron buff might just be a bit blunted here from X7.
20 seconds till this next Dragon. We'll see this fight again. Tempt finds a huge chunk onto Odie, forces an early cage, and then maybe I thought the turnaround could come through, but Odie's just so far away from this. The teleports comes in a bit late.
And Odie has been playing very dangerously close to the line in this game, and got to praise Tempt for looking for that play, but as you said, a well-timed cage makes things a little difficult to finish that one off. Luckily, though, they have a sniper on their team, and the marksman hits their target in C-Boy.
All right, well, we've got a Dragon alive, and that will be the target, will be Soul Point for X7, who, of course, got some pretty good champions to work and got Cloud Soul with. But, of course, it's still going to be a contest, still going to be a bit of a trial, as much of this game has been. The gold lead has never really extended for either team beyond this point. It has been so neck and neck.
I like things close here in the NLC.
The HP bars, though, definitely currently favoring X7. Of course, they do have a Senna who will be able to heal people up with a little R&R in the darkness.
No, that's a Q, Sam. That's that. I think that's the wrong ability, Sam. Okay, while we were on screen in mid lane,
wow,
Dragon's taken off the table by X7. There's an engage afterwards.
Solar flare comes through, and once again, Icarus was proven very apt. A myth, too close goes C-Boy. The sun came to him.
Okay, so Fury wasn't there. You don't have the Vigard to put down that cage. So important for their disengage is that champion, and Bifrost caught sleeping just for 1 second, but that's enough for X7 to pounce. Put themselves into a dangerous position in this game. Now, we do have the drags to the Baron buff. Only just 30 seconds. Not really going to be enough to take down any turrets after this point. And again, actually, it feels like the first Dragon is off, first Baron rather, is more for the gold value. That's something which the economy Baron, as Rudude would call it, actually. I borrowed that term from him quite a lot recently.
It's a good term.
It is a very good term, and XM are very happy with how the economy is faring for themselves. Managed to, again, bring things back into a more semblance of normality.
Sorry.
Now X7 looking to play through the side lanes. Again, we kind of called that out as some way that X7 can play. They've just rarely gone for it so far.
There's the stun onto the tower. Everfrost root comes through. He's dead before a Mega Narc can even come through. But remember, Jaeger, no flash. He's run the Ignite. Needs to find a way out. He's been shoved back into the cage. And he's taken a daycare straight out and done.
Oh, so X7, they do get the kill on Shikari, but at what cost? I mean, it's actually not going to be too bad for them. Just looking at the whole state of the map, I mean, we were talking about, not much to be gained from the Baron buff and just the last couple of drags of it. Does keep some minions slightly more alive, though.
Stunned,
he's caught out again.
Down, true shot, barrage, shut down for Nata.
Oh, he has a flash, he has a heal, he has no cleanse, and maybe he wishes he could have just gotten out of that by using the damn summoner spell.
And this is it. Gonna see the pick here again because it starts off clean, and the turnaround with the teleport is great because there's no way out at this point for Jaeger. He can't go back towards the tower, and no flash. C-Boy's there, and he's just so quick at this point.
Let's see you on the other side. Maybe one respawn later, we can find ourselves a little bit of a better play in that side lane, but X7, they don't stop looking. You can see that Odie walks up and, yeah, I mean, he just walks up too far behind his safe bounds.
Slash, beautiful.
Gets absolutely monstered. And actually, on the spectator graphic, there actually says the summoners were down, so, but,
On live, he seems to have them, so I'm assuming not.
I mean, I'd hate to flame him with no reason.
Exactly.
I look at that and I'm just like, he had flash up and what I can see that.
Yep.
That'd be kind of
Fairly sure that's a spectator bug, but maybe we can get production to double check that one for us. Okay, good to know. Thank you very much, production. So he does have flash in here.
That's very good.
So
Okay,
good
well, maybe you should have used that. Maybe you shouldn't have it right now. That would have been maybe nice.
Might have been an option.
Either way, I can't really spend the whole game talking about one rude summoner unused. Now Bifrost trying to stabilize. They're trying to find a way now, honestly, to get themselves back into a 5v5 situation and get themselves back into playing around front to back with an actual front line that hasn't been chunked out to half HP before the fight begins.
That's because the Ezreal right now is at 3 items, the Ahri at 3 items. That's a lot of ways to poke, and yes, Senna can start turning that around later on, but it's kind of a 1 versus 2 scenario. Yes, Veigar can, of course, zone people, but the poke's only there if you stun someone in place for everything to land. And that's the issue, right? The later the game goes, yes, Veigar scales infinitely, but his range doesn't. And the burst of other champions means it gets harder and harder for him to step forward.
And again, kind of going back to what the desk said right at the start of this when the Veigar was locked in, it's like, oh, it's quite difficult, you know, for certain champs to play into that. Yes, but if they have flash and they're willing to play aggressively, it doesn't actually matter, because Veigar doesn't have any ability to play really defensively outside of just dropping the cage and hoping that people walk into it. If you have an aggressive enough mindset, you catch people out in rotation, you shut down the carries before a second round of that cage comes out, the poke can land. It's not quite as easy as that to try and play out these fights. X7
have certainly been aggressive enough. That's not been the issue. It's been, honestly, for both teams, the fact that once the engage comes through, the turnaround, the counter engage is so nasty because you get split off from your team. When a cage comes down, when Sion goes charging in, he's an unstoppable onslaught, of course, alongside an onslaught of shadows. Lots of onslaughts going on.
We do like some onslaughts here. But okay, speaking of like the engage and the encounter engage, we have a Zhonya's and Ahri, we have a stopwatch on Senna. Watch out for them in the next fight, and there probably is going to be once Barons was started.
Would be, of course, Soul for X7 in 40 seconds as well, but the Dawning Shadows will spot out this is happening. C-Boy will be around. The pull-off comes through. They're going to jump in onto C-Boy. Temp from the flank, but it's still going to be Jaeger who falls down. He's not quite a Titan killer in this one. And instead, the Titans begin to attack in turn. Bifrost is there, goes over the wall for C-Boy, but he's still going to fall. It's overdives on overdives, but can they get Haru in trade? Jungler for jungler trade, no smites available. Shikari goes crunching down onto Kasing, and the Solari falls. That is a massive win.
X7, again, just too spread out, not able to follow up, not quite able to finish off the kills that they really wanted to. Jaeger goes too deep, Tempt can't add enough damage into the fray,
How much can
X7 lose themselves the fight.
Tempt's around, Nutters around, they're going to try and poke out best they can. That's going to be the Baron still secured anyway. Tempt now trying to get out of here best he can. Lots of damage coming through with those Mystic shots. Still not quite enough though, and it's a 4-man Baron that Bifrost get away with, and this game remains an incredibly tense affair. Dragon's alive though, and it will come in trade for Soul.
And Bifrost end up
they're teleporting.
They take that without the smite themselves, but they're not willing to give up another smiteable objective, even though they just took the Baron for themselves, warding off X7 from the Dragon and setting up territory.
Stunned. That's a massive one. Can they stay alive, though? They won't quite get a hold of Nata, who does Arcane Shift away, but he's taken so low. What about the turnaround, though, as Jaeger just can't stay alive for more than 30 seconds in this late game stage.
And X7, they try and find a window, trying to get themselves that soul again. If they got that soul, Elder's on the table in the next 5-6 minutes. You know, maybe there's an ability to play for the turnaround around that objective, not able to get the smite. And now Bifrost with the Baron, with all members available, with the waves in their favor, they're going to crush through X7 structures.
Oh, this is going to be more than an economy Baron. It's going to be a down Wall Street crash. Welcome to the named end of the 20s. And it's Bifrost that are roaring here.
All Maria has fallen.
Indeed. What can they do, though, from here? They will get an inhibitor. They won't go for more. Bifrost. Reminder, they are undefeated versus X7. There is Kryptonite, and then there is whatever the hell they put in Bifrost's water. There's nothing to be said about drafts here. Both have functional drafts. There's no weird Twitch picks, no Vayne tops, no early misplays in lane. It's just been good mid-game close stuff.
It's been some killing of towers. X7, once again, staring down Bifrost, approaching them. The Baron's making it hard for them to find flanks. See Tempt on the side, but Bifrost happy to clump up, happy to play as a big old unit and looking for an engage.
Onslaught won't quite land there, unstoppable though it may be. Kasing flashing forwards, he's been the go button. It's not been all though he's that clean though, and he goes down again. Senna gets one, Nar gets another, and it's Nata and Tempt against the world. But it's Bifrost that will come bringing down the hammer of the Norse gods. They might not be named after Thor, but lightning can strike 6 goddamn times it feels. 6th win this damn year.
And Bifrost, they're going to take this first game. X7, they've been caught once again by this team, the underdogs. X7 takes blood once more.
I may be over-egging a little bit, of course. The calibration tournament was the end of last